Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Hannah. My Instagram is at hanstluce. Today's video is me doing a little review and showing you guys my first. I've got powder on my face. That is just Hannah. We're showing you a tutorial and a demo and a review of first impressions on the new Morphe 35G Bronze Goals eyeshadow palette. So if you want to see what my thoughts are on this palette and if you should get it, then please stay watching. Oh, is this palette not gorgeous? When I saw this collection from Morphe come out, I was like, this is a Hannah palette. Like, this is a Hannah palette. This whole launch is a Hannah launch. Sadly, I'm not on the Morphe PR list, but it doesn't matter because Hannah has crease lids and she still spent the money on getting it. And what I am going to do is I'm going to do one eye off of camera just so I get a feel of the shadows and all of that jazz, and then I'll come back and do I'll do this eye for you guys. This retails for £24 in the UK. You can get it in the Morphe stores, I think in Birmingham and in Stratford, Westfield in the UK. But if you're not in the UK, then you can get it on morphe.com or morphe.co.uk. I think it's available now, but you can use like various discount codes to get you 10% off, depending on which one you want to use. I used one, I think this went for like £21.40 or something like that, I can't remember. But yeah, this retails for £24. I don't know why it's £1 more than the usual palettes, because the usual palettes are £23. Maybe it's because of the packaging, is to die for. It says the 35G Bronze Goals, the 35 shades for bomb bronze looks. It says bronze out and keep glowing with these beyond creamy, highly pigmented, super blendable eyeshadows. A tantalizing mix of shimmer coppers, matte browns and glistening golds. This palette is totes goals. The reason why I went towards this palette, the reason being, is because the shimmer shadows in this palette look amazing, and I know people probably won't be a fan of this palette because there's so many more shimmers than mattes. I think there's 12 mattes and more shimmers, but the reason why I went for it was because, do you know what? Morphe shimmers are one of the best shimmers I've ever tried or come across that are super affordable. Their shimmers, whenever you see my little tutorials on my Instagram, I am always using Morphe palettes because their shimmers are insane. Now I'm hoping the formula is still the same in this palette because it is £1 more, so I expect a bit better quality, but I'm hoping the shimmers are just as good because the coppery golds and the shimmers and the bronzies and all of that jazz in this palette look insane, and I know Morphe shimmers deliver well. But I am, of course, going to give you my thoughts and show you if I think you recommend it. Of course, this is, like I said, this is what the packaging of the palette looks like. Really gorgeous. Love it. This is what the bad boy looks like. It just says 35G Bronze Gold Morphe palette. I love this. I absolutely love this. It does come with names. I think the only suggestion that I will say with Morphe is, like with their, I think they've done it with one of their palettes, you need to put the names not in a plastic. Don't waste plastic. Put it on the actual palette. You can probably redesign the palette and make it work. So this is what the palette looks like. Oh, please tell me it's not so dreamy. It's gorgeous. The only disappointment I've found, and I know I'm just going to say this now before I go into it, I'm not going to be any negative on this review. The mattes that they have are very, very similar. Like, I would like, there's a black and then there's like a really light or like chocolatey brown. There needs to be a deep dark brown, like a bit darker than this shade. There needs to be more depth and darkness and deepness to that shade. But yeah, they've got like a more, this more of a blue black than anything. But I do think this is so gorgeous. I'm not going to swatch them for you because I don't want to ruin them. If you want swatches, please just let me know. The shimmers look different in the pan. Like, if I go towards my other Morphe palettes, the shimmers look a little bit more metallic. These ones look a lot more muted and more like, just so like a little bit of, not foily or anything, but a little bit more like, you know, a matte shadow with a bit of shimmer in it. That's what it's looking like. So I don't know how I feel about that, but it doesn't matter anyway. I hope they're going to be gorgeous. I hope they're not going to be crumbly, because some Morphe shadows can be really, really crumbly. The only thing I don't get is, why is there like shimmer greens and shimmer yellows? Like, that's not really a bronze theme, but I get the gist. I do really like it. I think when you look at the palette, I'm going to be completely honest, it's not that bronzy. Like, I don't know if it's just me, it's not that bronzy. Like a pink, a green, a yellow, not that bronzy. I do think the Morphe 3502 is more bronzy than this palette, but it's okay, doesn't matter, we can still create a look out of it. I still know it does come with the sheets with the names. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to do one half of camera and then come. So I'm back, I've done one half camera. It looks a bit crazy right now because I haven't got any mascara on my lower lash line, no lashes, all of that jazz, but we're sort of going for sort of like a coppery eye. I am really digging this palette. So far, so good. I do have one thing to say. If you know how the Morphe shimmers work, how they're very foily, they're very metallic, this formula is ever so slightly different, I personally think. The matte browns are incredible. Don't get me wrong, I've always loved Morphe brown shades. Their normal matte shades have been beautiful, they've blended beautifully, but for some reason in this palette, they've really upped their game with the shadows. The shadows blend beautifully together. I will show you. This look took me not long at all. It's super easy, so I'm going to go through a step-by-step tutorial with you. What I will say is you're going to have to dig in. Like, I don't know if I can show you. I had to dig into the pan to actually get the foiliness because these shadows are too creamy. Like, they're not as powdery. Like, I prefer a powdery shimmer. These are too creamy where they come off a bit matte in a sense. Like, even spraying it, I had to spray the palette to make it look more metallic. Like, on my eyes it looks okay, but it's not the same formulation. I don't know why. So the first shade I'm going to take is the shade Naked. Now, this is what it looks like. This is the shade Naked. To just pop the shadow on, I'm going to go in with the Morphe M513 brush. I'm going to take the shade Naked onto... I've primed my eyes already. I just used a concealer. You can use a P. Louise base. You can use any type of eye base. I just use a normal concealer. Just as so. So you want to be messy with this because it doesn't matter how it goes on. I find with these blending brushes that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get into the inner corner of the eye, so we will go in with a different brush afterwards just to make sure that everything is blended in correctly and there's no points where it's like less blended than others. I'm going to go in with my famous M506 brush and I'm going to take Naked again and just going to focus this on the inner corner. Find you do have to go in with the shadow quite a bit, but I guess you do with transition shades, but this is a little bit deeper than your traditional transition shade. But I really want to build this up to be as deep as possible. So you can like blow this out if you want. I will, just ever so slightly, as you can see. I'm going to go into the shade Heatwave, which is this like deep brown shade, and I'm going to pack this on in the crease. So I'm going to take the same brush as we did before, the Morphe M506. I would recommend everyone getting this brush, it's brilliant. I'm going to take the M506 and I'm just going to start to ever so slightly pack it on in the outer corner and bring it in. Doesn't matter how messy you are, just make sure you just focus. If you want to and you don't know where your crease is, just stick the brush in and just go back and forth, but open your eye so it like into your eye socket sort of thing, just to add a little bit of shadow. It really makes a difference. And you want to keep going back in with the shade Naked just to make sure that there is a transition then, it's not any harsh lines. Now I'm going to go in with a different M506. This one's a little bit more fluffier. I'm going to go back in the shade Naked and just make sure all of that is blended together. So you might find this isn't the perfect blending, but it doesn't matter. Don't always go for the perfect blend, because when we cut the crease, all of this doesn't matter because it shows up like this and it's not that bad. So trust the process. Now I'm going to go in with this shade right here called Tan Up, and I'm just going to make sure I'm going to pop this between the shade Heatwave and Naked just to make sure everything is blended seamlessly. And I'm also going to take that on the fluffier M506. It's always good to have doubles of brushes so you don't mix different shadows. So I'm just going to take Tan Up just between the two. Even though you might not see the shadow blends in the two together because it's a mixture of both of them, I personally feel. Go back in with the Morphe M513 and just make sure the outer edges are all seamlessly blended and there's no harsh lines. Right. Now onto the hardest part, which is cutting the crease. I'm now going to go in with my Huda Beauty Overachiever Concealer. That is what I use to cut the crease. That is how I like it. If you have a certain cut in the crease method, you do it your way. I am going to grab my Morphe M224 brush. If you guys want me to do a video on like my favourite Morphe brushes for like beginners and things like that, just please just let me know and I'll be happy to. So I'll just grab a little bit of concealer on the actual brush like so, and I'm gonna cut the crease. So I've cut the crease, but also what I find is I'm just gonna go in my beauty blender and just make sure there's not too much concealer on there, because sometimes too much concealer can just make it ever so slightly like a bit weird. Just make sure you go with a beauty blender. That's just my personal opinion. I think it makes the shimmer go on a lot better if you just go over it with a beauty blender afterwards, just to make sure it's all blended in lovely, just like so. Go back in with the shade Heatwave, and I'm going to go back in with my Morphe M506 brush. I'm just going to take Heatwave and I'm just going to pack it on the edge. Just bring it, so you want to do this sort of motion I'm going to show you. You just want to bring it in right here, just onto the concealer, just so it blends the edges so it's not looking too hard. One thing I like about this palette so far, there is no fallout, and I've got foundation on. There is a tad bit here from the shimmer, but there is no fallout. I definitely feel that they've improved on their formulation of this shimmer in terms of there's not much fallout, but I do miss the metallic vibe, man. Go in with the Sigma Therm Shader E57 brush. This is one of my favourite brushes for packing on shimmer. This is what the eye look is looking like so far. Pretty good. I go in with the shades Island Life here and Sexy Beach here. Mix the two and then pack it on in the outer. So sort of like outer and mid. Just start to pack this on the outer bit. Do you see what I mean by it's like they're not insanely pigmented? Like, it's not my usual Morphe shimmer. Like, if you go onto my Instagram, you'll find that the Morphe shimmers are incredible. Top, so we're going to go right in the inner corner with the shade Glow On. I think it's Glow On. Yeah, Glow On, which is this beautiful shade right here. And I'm going to pack this in the inner corner. Do you see what I mean? There's like, they're not, so if I swatch on my finger, do you see what I mean? But they're not that, like, they're more just like shiny, like there's no metallic feel to them. They do look better on a finger, but they're just not the same. Because there's a little bit of harshness there, we are going to go back in with the shade Heatwave and Tan Up mixed together, and just make sure that there are no harsh lines or any of that jazz. With a blank Canvas Cosmetics E08 brush, and go in with the shade Naked once again and start to bring this underneath the waterline, or on the lower lash line you could say, just like that, just to connect. The Morphe M506 again, and just blend that together. I did pop the shimmer glare in the inner corner and on my brow bone, just to add a little bit of shimmer. I do like that. Okay, so I'm going to apply some lashes, do the rest of my face, and come back to you. Okay, so I've finished my rest of my makeup and done the rest of my face. This is how the eyeshadow is looking. I think it looks pretty good. Gone with like a nude bronzy lip. I did go in with the Gerard Cosmetics Mudslide lip liner, and then on top of that I picked up the Dose of Colours Knock on Wood, one of my favourite liquid lipsticks. This palette right here I think is really gorgeous. As I said, the shimmers are not like, do you know what, now that I think about it, if you're like a beginner in makeup and you don't want like all the fallout and all the messiness, and you want something that's going to work for everyone, and it works, and the shimmers do look pretty on the lid, just they take a little bit of time to pack on, but they're easy to pack on, then it definitely get this. The browns are gorgeous. I think the browns are better than their previous palettes in the Morphe 35O and the Morphe 3502. I prefer the browns in this palette. The lashes I'm wearing are the Mykonos lashes by Lily Lashes. Oh, this palette is gorgeous. I would actually recommend everyone getting it. I think it's another Morphe palette you just need. £24. You cannot go wrong. Like, you just can't go wrong. It's Morphe. You can't go wrong. Like, the only thing I wasn't picking up was their body bronzer, because no one was paying £19 for a bronzer. No. I think the shades are absolutely gorgeous. You can see I've dug in quite a bit just because I wanted to see if like lower down in the layers of the shimmer, if the formula changed. You can just tell like With the other shimmers from Morphe palettes, they just have a little bit more oomph to them. The mattes in this palette are 10 times better. There's no fallout, because I used to get a lot of fallout with the browns. There's not much fallout. Same with the shimmers. The shimmers, I think, are too tightly compact together. Like, it's not as loose in a sense. So I like a crumbly shadow in a sense. It's not crumbly, it's more creamy and a little bit more like less shimmery pigmented. It's more of like a shimmery matte. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, the formulation, I can even see it's like very pressed down. They're very the formula is very together. So yeah, it's a bit not my thing. The shimmers are, I do like the shimmers. Like, the shimmers are really, really nice on the lid, but you do, if you want my sort of shimmer and you want something to be really packed on, then the shimmers in this palette are not going to be for you. I would recommend this palette. I'm loving it. Obviously, you guys are going to see on my Instagram that I'm going to be using the palette loads more. I'll be creating loads of different looks, so please stay tuned for that. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a massive thumbs up. I would really, really love that. Also, click the notification bell and please subscribe if you're new, so you don't miss out on when I post. I've got tons of reviews, tons of great content coming up for you guys, so please stay tuned for that. I love all of you. I hope you guys take care, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye.